In this section, I'm going to start the discussion on EIGRP, and I'm going to talk about EIGRP in detail. So the first thing that I want to do is configuring the EIGRP process on my routers. I want to have all my routers except the backbone in EIGRP AS100, and I'm going to have a neighborship between router 3 and backbone in another AS, for example AS34 or anything. So first of all, I will start configuring EIGRP on router 1, and you know a basic configuration of EIGRP, it's very easy. We should go to enable mode, we should go to configuration mode, and then start EIGRP process using router EIGRP and the AS number. And now here we are having all my routers in AS100. The number is not important, but any router that is gonna be neighbor with other routers should be in the same AS number. So I hit OK, and right now I have router EIGRP process running on my router. So one of the verification commands that I use first of all is this show IP protocol, and you can see this do in front of this command because this is a privilege mode command, and I'm using this in configuration mode, so I need this do to tell iOS that I'm using this privilege mode command, so please run it for me. So I type in this and hit OK, and you can see that it tells me that EIGRP 100 process is working on your router, but right now I have no interface, no routing for networks means no interface in this process, and of course I haven't configured anything else. But some points are very important here. First of all, you know that administrative distance for EIGRP is 90 for internal routes and 170 for external routes. This means if there is no other routing protocol with less administrative distance, whatever route I put in routing table will win, and it will be used as the routing information. The second point is this: you have 5 values, and these values are like this. K1 is bandwidth, K2 is load, K3 is delay, K4 is reliability, and K5 is MTU. And those who have value of 1 mean that these values are going to take part in calculation of the metric. For example, I know that bandwidth is 1, that means the bandwidth is gonna take part in calculation, and of course delay is 1. This means that we have delay as part of our calculation, but we do not have load or reliability or MTU for our calculation. Okay, the next thing that I want to know is this: I have no filter available for incoming or outgoing interfaces, and of course EIGRP is non-stop forwarding. NSF means non-stop forwarding. That means if I restart the EIGRP process, router still will use EIGRP routes, and I'm going to talk about this later on. And you can see that automatic network summarization is in effect. That means you are using auto summary, and I'm going to talk about this again in later lessons. Okay, now that I have started EIGRP process, the next thing that I want to do is to assign interfaces to this EIGRP process. And how can I do that? Let's see what interfaces we have in this router. To show IP interface is brief, and again, because I'm using a privilege mode command, I'm using do as a prefix. You can see that I have fast00 and fast01 and serial interfaces, and all of them are class A IP addresses. So to add all these networks in one go, I can add network command here. A network command is the command that you assign interfaces using that. That means the network that is, that consists all interfaces that are in this range. And how you can assign the range: you add 10, for example, 0, 0, 0, and next 0 as a wildcard mask. It's the opposite of subnet mask. So 0, 255, 255, 255. And now I know that if I have interfaces in this range, I will have that interface taking part in EIGRP process. And how can I calculate the range? You should add 0 to the first octet, you should add the second octet to the second octet, third octet to the third octet, and you will receive the final IP address. The first IP address is 10.0.0.0, and by adding this octet by octet, you can receive 10, 255, 255, 255. It means any interface that has an IP address in this range, 10.0.0.0 to 10.255, 255, 55 to 55, will be part of EIGRP process. But this means that anytime you can add interfaces, and that interface can have its IP address in this range, so automatically that interface will be assigned to EIGRP process. I don't want it. I want to assign interfaces one by one and exactly that IP address of interface and no other IP addresses. So I delete these and add IP addresses like this: 10.0.16, 1, and I want to add 0.0.0.0 to this, and the range will contain only one IP address. So I hit enter, and now this is the first interface that is assigned to EIGRP process, and it starts sending hello packets to the subnet of 10.0.16 to see if there is another router consisting in EIGRP process. Okay, now I want to add the second network that is 12 in EIGRP process, and I'm not going to add serial right now. I'm going to talk about this later. So I have these two interfaces in EIGRP process. Let's go to router 2 and assign EIGRP to this router as well. So I go to configuration mode, I start router EIGRP 100 and make sure that the AS number is the same as the AS number of the other router, because we are going to have neighborship between these two routers. So I hit enter, and again I add network command, and I have 10.0.12.2 interface, and I want to have 0.0.0.0 added to that. And as soon as I hit enter, you can see that the neighborship is created. So you can see that this is a dual that is EIGRP message, and you can see that IP EIGRP 100 is sending this message to me. There is a new adjacency, and it is right now in this time. Okay, now I have everything created here. I have adjacency, and I can check the adjacency. The first command that I use to check the adjacency is this: show IP EIGRP neighbors. And you can type in this in full, of course, a neighbor, and you can see that I have one neighbor. This 0 means this is the number that is incremented by 1, and this is not important. 0 is the first number, and in computer world we always start counting from 0. So I have 10.0.12.1. this is my neighbor's IP address, and it is created neighborship with me on my fast01 interface. You can see that I have queue count of 0. This means that I have no problem creating the neighborship, and I have no problem sending or receiving the updates. So this is a very perfect neighborship that I have created. Okay, right now I want to add other interfaces to this process, so I add network 10.0.25 2, and I hit enter, and again I have another interface in EIGRP process. The second EIGRP verification command that is very important is this. I again add do, because I'm in configuration mode, and of course I'm trying to execute the privilege mode command. Show IP EIGRP interfaces, and you can see that there are two interfaces in EIGRP process, and you can see that one of the interfaces has a neighbor, one neighbor of course. The other interface has no neighbors right now. and you can see some other important features that I'm going to talk about later on. So I have these two commands as my very first verification, and next we will go to routing table and see what we have there.